Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual dialogue with the Dean, bringing you more from campus updates here at Purdue. Before we start, I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions throughout this video, please feel free to leave a comment and we'll respond to those when we see them. Today, we're really honored to have with us Purdue alumnus Don Thompson. Don is a member of Purdue's Board of Trustees and the chair of the Equity Task Force from the board that released their recommendations and findings just this past week. So this is all fresh information, but we really thought it would be a great opportunity to share some of that with you, our alums. So Don, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to learning more about the Equity Task Force and sharing that with our alumni.
Well, Eric, it's good to be here with you. And I need to start by thanking you for all of your participation and all of those meetings and sessions, and the collective group of deans was quite an integral partner as we moved through these last 7 months of really looking at what our opportunities were.
Well, it's my pleasure. This is just such important work, and I know that my fellow deans feel the same way. And so we're just an honor to work with the Equity Task Force. So let's just start off. Why was the Equity Task Force established, and what was the goal?
You know, so this has been a lot of discussions over a number of years relative to how is Purdue positioned to lead in the upcoming years. And for us, this is about, you know, what's the next set of Purdue moves, if you would? Where are we going as we move into the future? Because Purdue is an elite university, but we're an elite university with a common touch. We have a land-grant mission, and how do we fulfill that mission as we move forward? So we've looked at investments in areas such as the colleges themselves, all of the sciences, all of the agricultural areas, as you know, the advancements we make in medicine relative to Purdue through our pharmacy colleges. So we've looked at a lot of different aspects. One of the things that we noticed and saw was there's an area where we have some gaps. And that area was relative to our broader diversity. And so as we begin to take a look, we found that the greatest gap that we saw was relative to Black Boilermakers. And it was in areas of the representation on campus, what the broader experiences were. And as a result of that, we began to dive in deeper. And as a result of that initial diving in, we said, you know, we need to create a process and a group by which we can really look at this and see if we can make some advancements in our broader diversity. But we got to start someplace. Where do we start? We start at the greatest gap. The greatest gap was with Black Boilermaker experiences. So
the task force findings are out. What are some of those initiatives the task force recommends, and what do you see in the timeline for some of that implementation?
So we, as you know, Eric, we just had the final, if you would, presentation. I call it final, it really won't be. This is going to be ongoing. But presentation to the Board of Trustees for their consideration. Jay Ackridge did a wonderful job of presenting the broad-based initiatives. So the way that it lays out is that there is a focus in 3 areas across multiple constituencies. What do I mean by that? That focus is in representation, which is the population, if you would, the broader demographics numbers as people would look at them on the campus of West Lafayette for Purdue. We limited this initial scope to West Lafayette because we wanted to be able to address that, because that is where we had our greatest initial gap. So undergrad students, graduate students, faculty, and staff all are the groups, stakeholder groups that we're looking at. And it is in the areas of representation, their experience, and then success factors. Success factors are the things we looked at in terms of what happens when you're either at Purdue and your experiences and your accomplishments as a result of that, or what happens when you leave if you're a graduate, undergraduate, et cetera, et cetera. We also looked at success factors like, what does it mean to be successful as a faculty member? So that's a big set of things that we've looked at. On the undergrad side, we're looking at how we recruit more students, more Black students to Purdue, and how we're able to financially support not just Black students, but students also who are disadvantaged economically, if you would, and have a higher hurdle rate coming in. we happen again to have a larger gap initially with the Black student representation on campus, so we're starting there. The middle piece on experience is the piece that basically says it doesn't do you much good if you enhance the numbers of students, of faculty, of staff, of color on the campus if their experience is not as good. And so what does that mean? What does it take to build a community? What does it take for me to feel like, man, I've got those that are looking out for me, with me, supporting me, mentoring, network support. And so that is another group of initiatives. So Jay Ackridge is going to be outlining all the specifics of the initiatives, and we'll be publishing that very soon. But those are the three areas: representation, experience, and the success matrix around placement. And it is across those four constituency areas that I mentioned: undergrad, grad, faculty, and staff.
Many of our alums and maybe even people here on campus may ask the question why the task force decided to focus only on Black students, faculty, and staff, and not all minorities. And maybe you could share just a little bit of your perspective on that.
Yeah, Eric, it is a great question. And you kind of know the answer to this one because we've been together for so long on this. But effectively what we did, we could have taken 3 or 4 people. We could have looked at a lot of the demographic data and some of the other research and survey metrics that we have already and come out with 10 to 12 things that we should do across the campus, across West Lafayette campus of Purdue. We didn't do that. We did this very different. So why did we start with Black? To be real honest, what we started with was a very diverse group of individuals. There was over 150 people that we pulled together into this equity task force. A very diverse steering committee as well. It was genders, diversity, experience, background. We had a lot of different people. We had a lot of students. We had faculty. We had staff. We had administration. So we had alumni. We had representation from the other parts of the Purdue system who were not on the West Lafayette campus. So that 150 plus people really came together, and we then addressed the data that we saw. We had data presentations. The gaps basically said that Purdue we've kind of been at a plateau kind of a level for quite a few years around our student numbers, faculty, and staff numbers. And so where was the biggest part of that gap? It was with Blacks. And so where do we start our efforts? With Blacks. I say that only to say this: the process that we use is a process that could be used for us to continue to address any diversity related issues or gaps or opportunities that we see at Purdue. So the process would be the same. You pull a group of people together from different walks and you focus on the gaps that you have in your data. Ours just happen to be with Black Boilermakers to a substantial extent.
So how will the task force measure success of these initiatives then?
So we'll measure success along the same lines as the pillars themselves. So that last pillar of success is really where all of our metrics lie. And they will lie relative to how many folks are on campus of the different diversity aspects. And we will definitely look at how we begin to bridge some of the gaps relative to broader diversity by focusing on increasing the Black representation on campus. And it is consistent in students, faculty, and staff, both undergrad and grad. And so I want to make sure that's clear. But we'll begin there. So we'll begin with the representation matrix. Representation is not enough. We'll also look at experience metrics around, are you enjoying your experiences at Purdue? Do you feel that you are being engaged? Do you feel Purdue is your home? It's your place. We want everyone to feel like that, whether they're students, staff, or faculty. Purdue is your home. And that is one of the gaps we've seen, particularly with some of the Black Boilermakers. They haven't felt like Purdue was their home. And so when they leave, many of them don't come back to campus. And so we're going to try our best to work on those things. And the metrics of success will be the actual numbers. Got to have those. They will be the research results and the survey results. They will be placement results across the areas to make sure we have diversity throughout. And we're pretty excited that it's not a super long list, but it's probably across all of those constituencies and metrics. We may have a total of about 20 different metrics. They will be included in a dashboard, and that dashboard will be presented to the campus on a routine basis.
Well, it's very exciting to see the final product from the Equity Task Force, and I know you're now very eager to see implementation occur, to see results. And I
Yeah.
know you naturally have that CEO kind of mindset, and you're interested in what the results look like, and we're really excited to see where this is going to go, and the impact it's going to have not only on Purdue, but frankly on all of our disciplines. And
Exactly.
so that, as a land grant university, our mission is, certainly in the education space, but it's that impact that we have on our communities as well, and availability and accessibility of education, and then the impact that has on the respective disciplines at a diverse place like Purdue. So that's exciting. Normally I just throw it open to you if you've got maybe a question for me.
Oh, Eric, well, again, I mentioned earlier, thank you for all of your input as we've gone along this route. And there's a lot more details, obviously, that will be shared that we don't have the time to go into now. But it'd be great too, Eric, and I've heard some of this, but for everyone, I think, to understand some of the things you and the team have done to also further broader diversity, of which the Black experience is included in that broader diversity. But you've been doing quite a few things, and it might be interesting just to highlight maybe a couple of those, buddy. I think it'd be, because a lot of people think, okay, are we starting fresh and new? No, many of our deans have been doing some substantial things over a period of time.
Yeah, Don, it's really interesting because literally just Friday I had a chance to reflect on this because we honored someone, Dick Weaver's his name, who was an advisor here in the early 70s, who was instrumental in beginning the conversation within the College of Pharmacy on diversity issues, and
Wow.
specifically recruitment of Black students to Purdue College of Pharmacy. This was the early 1970s. Who was talking about diversity in the early 1970s? Dick was, and he had a vision for our college. And really that's culminated now with our articulated vision that we want Purdue College of Pharmacy to be the preferred destination for Black students who want to study pharmacy, who want to work on their PhDs in the pharmaceutical sciences. And so what kinds of things do we need to be sure that we're putting together? What comprehensive plans can we have? And so certainly in the recruitment side of things, we're thinking about how we develop relationships with students and their families, starting in the middle school, 7th and 8th grade. So they're thinking about coming to a place like Purdue, to Purdue Pharmacy, to study pharmacy or pharmaceutical sciences is something that's attainable and achievable, and we're going to help them get there. So middle school to high school, relationships on that continuum. And then this last year, the capstone of this relationship, we hope, will be a pharmacy technician training program that we want to offer to high school seniors at no cost to them. We've started at the Purdue Polytechnic High School. We have our first cohort this spring. It's a small cohort, but this is a way to recruit people. I hope some will come to Purdue Pharmacy, but if not, we're going to open their eyes to other healthcare professions, and that's a win for Purdue, and it's a win for our health professions on our campus or at other campuses. And so this is the kind of opportunity that I think we can have. So we start the relationship, we get them thinking about Purdue and Purdue Pharmacy through high school. We cap it with an opportunity to get trained as a certified pharmacy technician. So one, they can get a job right out of high school. There's plenty of jobs, so it's a workforce issue, but it opens doors and hopefully opens their minds to thinking about coming to the College of Pharmacy. And so we're going to be expanding that program. We've got an into Evansville. We're talking to Indianapolis Public Schools. We'd like to get up to the region. We'd like to get up to Lake County in Chicago. We've got relationships there. So we really do see this as an expanding opportunity to develop relationships and then cap it with this pharmacy technician training program as a recruitment tool to get students here, particularly Black students, into our program. And again, we've done a good job. We've had a long history of it, but we know we've got work to do to develop that comprehensive plan. Then once they're here, to your experience point, it's retention. And so we've really developed over the last year and a half a very robust peer mentoring program that creates home and relationships between faculty and students and students, so that they have that strong support system for success and a great experience. And then lastly, in this last year, we really invested a lot of dialogue and a lot of our efforts in the climate, because the climate of this place and our college needs to be a place where, to your point, people feel like they're at home. And so we've got to build that anti-racist culture. It's not enough to be against racism. It's what are we doing actively to build a climate and a culture that is anti-racist. And it's very clear to all of our students, particularly our Black students, but certainly most recently our Asian students have faced some of this in the country. Our Latino students face this. So we've got students from diverse backgrounds. Our LGBTQ students can face these sorts of challenges. So how we think about our climate is really important to us as well. But certainly we've really focused in the last year or so on this anti-racist effort. And so we're in it for the long haul. I think we talked a little bit in our pre-time about that, that we want to recruit students, we want to mentor them, we want to give them research opportunities while they're here, and again, while they're in research, mentoring them to go to graduate school and mentoring them to think about academic careers, because it's not just enough for us to bring in students. We want to hopefully cultivate students so that they'll think about becoming faculty members and going to similar types of universities, or staying here at Purdue as faculty members. And we know that Purdue can have a role and does have a role in developing Black healthcare professionals and scientists. And so that the College of Pharmacy is really committed to seeing Purdue succeed in the goals laid out by the Equity Task Force. But the result of that, the fruit of that, is the success of our students and then ultimately the impact we have on the disciplines that we represent within our campus. And so those are just a few of the things we're doing and that we're excited about, and I'm happy to share those. But we're hopefully going to move these things forward in the next year or so. So, any closing comments from you? Just any last thoughts?
Well, Eric, one is it's been great to spend some time with you, and many of the things that you just went over are some of the pieces that are included in the details of the overall plan. You know that the plan document's about 150 odd page document of a lot of different things that a lot of folks work very hard to put together. But at the end of the day, it was interesting, and we grouped things, and you just went over them in 3 buckets. One we called Destination Purdue. I started my Destination Purdue in the 8th grade out of Indianapolis with Minority Engineering Program. And here I am today on the Board of Trustees. It can be done and people can enjoy it. So the first was Destination Purdue. The second bucket was Purdue for You, that experience that says this is for you. And the last one, aligned with our Alumni Association, was Purdue for Life. And if we can get those 3 things done, Destination Purdue is my choice, Purdue is for me and I'm enjoying my experience, and Purdue is for life and I want to be a Boilermaker for life. And I'm proud of that. We will have accomplished much, and we'll use this same process to continue to enhance diversity across our campuses.
Well, Don, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your voice in all of this the past year. It's been a real challenge, and that's clear understatement of all of the unrest we've had within the nation on racial issues. But know that Purdue and the College of Pharmacy really are committed to pursuing excellence in terms of racial equity. And I just look forward to seeing how things are going to play out here. I'm very, very optimistic about our future at Purdue and what this is going to mean. So with that, folks at home, thanks for watching. Please comment on the video if there are any topics you'd like to see us discuss in the future. As again, always, thank you for joining us today. Hail Purdue and boiler up.
Boiler up. Take care, Eric.